Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Meehan. I am one of the Cabrini NOW project leads with the Chicago Housing Authority. I'm joined by an incredible project team here. There are too many folks to name, but if you're with CHA, could you just do a quick wave so folks can see you? Thank you. And I'll just shout out my fellow leads, Alam Khoury. She's the Director of Development. Many of you will know her through her many years of work on Cabrini. Xiaobo Liu, Development Manager. He's newer to the team, but supporting Clybone, Oakland Larrabee, Clybone Larrabee, and Parkside 5. Andrew Stark, our Development Specialist, also newer to the team, but has done a ton of hard work on outreach, getting the logistics for tonight. If you got hot chocolate in your hand, that is thanks to them. And then Crystal Palmer and Sharon Wheeler as well, if you want to give us a wave. They've supported us across many engagement efforts for this. So all of the planning and design work you'll see tonight has been done by our exceptional consultant team, led by Solomon Caldwell-Benz, Nick, Albert, Christine. You'll meet them. You'll also see support from a number of supporting teams altogether, Marisa and Grace, Fish Transportation with Tim, Urban Resolve, Aaron and Terry, Terra Engineering, Who's Architect is our Section 3 contractor, and many others. And Linda and Kristen, sorry, Linda and Kristen as well at the back with Goodman Williams. We're reading too quickly here. So collectively, we want to thank you all for being here this evening and giving us your time for the planning process. We also wanted to thank Reverend Tomlinson for hosting us tonight in the church. Thank you so much. We all also wanted to thank you for welcoming us into the community. Your voice is essential to making this a success. And we know that Cabrini has a really powerful housing history, a really vibrant present. And we hope that with your input that you've given so far and will hopefully give us tonight, there's an even more exciting future ahead. So before we jump into our presentation as a CHA and the consultant team, I did want to invite the Vice Mayor and our Alderman, Alderman Burnett, to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Of course, I grew up here in the neighborhood, so I know this church very well. A lot of great things happen in this church. So I'd be remiss if I did not give honor to God, being in the house of God. But this is a church that feeds the people every week. We used to play in this little room. All these rooms look so small now, but when we were little, it was so big. We used to skate in here and do a lot of things. And this church has always been gracious to the neighborhood, and still have residents who's been here for. I saw a young lady. I think she's been going to this church for over 60 years. So it's a great church. We appreciate it. And I think this church is actually trying to do a development behind here and incorporate some mixed income housing too, which we may hear about in the future. But I'd be remiss if I did not acknowledge some of the organizations that are here. I know there's a lot of condo associations that are here, but we have the Nino of Unity program over here, Michelle and other members, which is an organization that meets once a month. What day do you all meet, Michelle? Every last Monday of the month, they have a meeting. It's a meeting for everyone in the community. Most of the development projects that happen over in this community is at that meeting. It's the last Monday of the month at 6 o'clock at 1111 North Wells Street. So please get involved and get engaged and stay involved with what's going on in the neighborhood. I also like to acknowledge Maurice Edwards, who's the local advisory president for Cabrini Green. Let's give it up for Maurice. And I don't know if the Old Town merchants and residents are here also. So I just wanted to mention, I want to thank CHA for all of their help. They call this Reimagine CHA, and they're trying to fill in the rest of the properties that CHA own over here. It's owned by CHA and HUD. As you all know, I think back in '98, the buildings came down. There was a commitment to rebuild the buildings, give folks the opportunity to move back. but do it with mixed income development. So right now, they're trying to, get moving again. We have a TIF in this community that may expire in about 10 years that they had to get moving on before we don't have any, city money to be able to help participate in this and deal with the infrastructure work and all of the other things in order to help make this work. All of these developments, so you know, there's a multiple of, there's many different pockets of money that go into these deals. They look for private developers to do the market rate development, but they also look for tax credits from either, the city or the state. And they also utilize some money from CHA in order to make these developments happen. So with the city and the state, and the private developers, that makes the development more mixed income. Otherwise, it would just be all CHA. The goal is to try to do a third, certain amount of units supposed to come through, supposed to be put back on the development because of a certain amount of development supposed to be put back. The units have to be on a certain amount of land, you have to build different units, certain sizes in order to be able to bring all of the development back. I'd be remiss also if I did not acknowledge a young lady from the Department of Planning. The Department of Planning, City Planning is here because planning and I work very closely with these developments to make them happen and also to utilize the TIF dollars that they are going to be proposing to use in these developments. So you're going to see, different massings. This is not the first meeting they had. This is the third meeting that they had with community members. They've been allowing for the community to give input in these developments on what they want, with the different maskings and all of those things, but also, green space and other things that's involved. So they really been trying to incorporate the neighborhood and drawing, what they want in these developments. So with that, I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm gonna allow them to talk about what they've been through, talk about what you all have offered them already, and tell you where we're gonna go in the future. Thank you all very much for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and for your support through the process as well. I did want to invite our local advisory council president, Mr. Maurice Edwards, up as well, to just say a few quick words before we jump in.
I don't know about a quick through of words, but once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'd like to thank our Vice Mayor, Alderman Walter Burnett, and the CHA staff, and also like to thank the Cabrini Green Local Advisory Council and the Cabrini Green CDC, which is the Cabrini Green Development Corporation. A lot of you guys might not know that what the Local Advisory Council does or what it represents. And, when we first started this plan for transformation, there was a lot of misconceptions about Cabrini Green and its residents. A lot of people ran down investing under the assumption that Cabrini Green and the residents would be gone. That's not going to happen. Okay, that's not going to happen. So with that being said, I don't want to make anybody become fearful or whatever, but it's a plan. It's a plan that Cabrini Green residents understand that we live in a diverse community. So therefore, we have to operate to that. Okay, but at the same time, I just don't want nobody leaving tonight looking at the different models and grabbing certain understandings that just is not true. That's why we have a local advisory council. It's the governing body for Cabrini Green. I've been in meetings with condo association presidents, and I won't call no names, but somebody had the idea that certain things was happening and the LAC could do a lot about it. And I'm standing there looking at the guy making these remarks, and he don't even know what the LAC president or the LAC staff or represent. So, with that being said, I just want people to be comfortable here tonight. Take a look at the models and take advantage of the opportunities that's going to be coming up in a lot of different directions as far as, jobs, contracts, the whole 9 yards. I'd like to thank all of the Cabrini, just our senior citizens. I'm surprised to see a lot of people that fought the cold to come out in unprecedented numbers to be concerned and to join in this joint venture on reimagining Cabrini now. Okay, so with that being said, I turn it back over to Rashad, CHA, and again, we've got a lot of work to do. But again, we're gonna do this together. Cabrini Green gonna be available.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, and for representing our CHA residents very tirelessly. Okay, so to jump in, what was our purpose when we set out on this process at the beginning of 2024? Really three big goals, and they're right here in front of you: to capture an updated community vision for a changing neighborhood. So think redevelopment of the casino, redevelopment on the Moody Bible Institute land, or North Union, any developments in the area. Improve the quality of life for current and future neighborhood residents. Quality of life is what housing is all about. Use development opportunities to bring amenities to the neighborhood. So why go through the whole planning process for the CHA sites in the area? The first and most important thing for us is to house more people. That's an essential goal for us as a housing authority. The most recent development planning for the area was done in 2015 through the Development Zone Plan and the Near North Unity Program's Quality of Life Plan. So I think many of you participated in that based on conversations we've had. We've also had some great developments come out of that work. Parkside 5 and Oak and Larrabee are two that are moving ahead right now. But with around 40 acres still to develop and all of the big private developments happening around us, we realize that it's time to come back to the community and update our vision. So there are sites that are still waiting for development, all mixed around the neighborhood, and we want to make sure that future developments work together cohesively and collectively. So in addition to housing, we want to make sure the streets line up, we leave space for parks and open spaces, that we have space for community amenities like senior services, pharmacies, daycares, and much more. We also wanted to make sure we're sharing our plans transparently. And we're really proud of the work that we've done. You can find all of the materials on our website at thecha.org/CabriniNOW. There are also recordings and more information. You'll also hear us say this throughout the evening, but I wanted to highlight that this draft plan isn't the end of our conversations with the community about what gets built on these sites. The best way to think about Cabrini now is like a bridge to making more detailed and final plans for the specific sites in the future. It's essential that we have this plan to guide us on our way to making those final plans, but it isn't the final destination. After this plan is complete, we as CHA will issue public solicitations for partners to come and work with us to build on those sites. Their proposals to the CHA will be evaluated based on the Cabrini NOW general plan, and we hope this will be something that's supported by the community. Once we have those partners on board, we'll ask them to come in and show us some more detailed plans, and that's when we'll have more feedback on those specific sites from the community. Specifically, we're obligated to meet with the CHA Local Advisory Council, the Near North Working Group, through some of the court orders and regulations that apply to us, but we would want to do that anyway. It's important to us to hear from the folks that are in the community to improve those developments. So what sites are we talking about exactly? This map shows the properties that we're talking about. We're on slide 5 if folks are following around along on printouts. There are approximately 40 acres of CHA owned sites. These are the ones in the black outline labeled A through R. We also divided the map up to sites north of Division Avenue and south of Division Avenue, just to help you follow along. There's already been significant redevelopment on CHA property, as both the Vice Mayor and Mr. Edwards shared. Since 2005, CHA investments have resulted in over 3,500 new homes in Cabrini, including almost 1,000 subsidized apartments for CHA. And as I mentioned, in addition to Cabrini NOW, we have 2 active development phases, Oak and Larrabee with 78 total homes, and Parkside 5 with 99 total homes. A third development for Clybourne and Larrabee on the former Near North High School site. That's returned to the planning stage with the external partners, and we can talk more about that in our activities over at the back. Just a quick rundown of how we got to tonight. We started the work back in January. We held our first community meeting at Ogden Jenner School back on May 8th. We had 10 stakeholder meetings and engagement sessions to help us in that first phase. That phase was all about listening and learning. So we didn't have a plan when we started phase one. We focused our meetings on asking the community, what are the community's priorities? What vision does the community have? What are the opportunities on these sites? In phase two, we took all of that helpful information, held some more stakeholder meetings, and came back to the community with 3 suggested development strategies for each site. So just laying out some options, some rough drafts to help facilitate some conversations and get more of a sense of what the community likes and doesn't like. After we presented those ideas on July 31st, we went back, had a lot of meetings, 16 stakeholder conversations and more. And that brought us to tonight. That all of those 3 strategies have been refined into a single draft plan, which is what we're presenting this evening. Okay. These are just some of the main points we heard at previous meetings. There was a lot more feedback that we couldn't fit onto one page, but we wanted to capture some of those key points. So a strong desire for development was heard loud and clear. We also saw support for for greater connectivity, prioritizing connectivity of the streets back into the surrounding grid. We also heard support for the idea of preserving and renovating just a portion of the vacant row homes. We also heard about the need for more contiguous talk space, so talk space that's connected, and that programming should be aligned to what the neighborhood needs in terms of programming. And then we also heard a strong desire to preserve and integrate spaces for the urban farms in the area. Okay, getting close before the big reveal of the plan. So just some tips to help sort of cover how to engage with the material tonight. First point is that this draft plan is based completely on your feedback and your neighbors. So please tell us how you did. Please tell us how we can improve still. Second, as I mentioned earlier, Cabrini NOW is not the final plan for any individual site. It's what we're calling a framework plan or a general plan. That means it's community-wide, looking at all of our sites together, making sure they work together like any other neighborhood in the city. And then, of course, as I mentioned, this plan will guide proposals from potential development partners in the future. And after we finalize this plan in early next year, we'll start applying for zoning changes and doing some of the technical work and releasing solicitations for partners to get us closer to building some of these sites. So those development partners will be recommended by CHA and the Near North Working Group, and we'll need CHA board approval before anything's finalized. Once we have those partners on board, again, we use this bridge to get into detailed design work. And I think with that, I'm passing it over to Nick to talk us through the design strategies themselves.
Thanks, Bishop. So once again, I'm Nicholas Pryor. I'm with SCB. We're the lead consultants for this planning effort. So hi, it's great to see everyone here. Yes, it's great. So yeah, as Risha mentioned, I get the pleasure of kind of revealing the big plan, and here it is. So this is the overall development framework, and to help orient people, we have Chicago Avenue all the way on the right, on your right, and then Clybourne and Larrabee all the way on your left, right? And so you can see we've tried to integrate this plan into the neighborhood. We've introduced some new streets, and we're going to get into those details a little bit later. But this is kind of the overall look at the full plan. Right now, we're estimating there's a little over 4,000 units across all of these different buildings. So there's a lot of development to happen here. And so we're really excited to dig into it. Before we get into the development, though, we did want to touch on the open space. So this is an existing diagram. So this is Chicago Avenue here. So these are the existing row homes right here. And then this is the Chicago Lights urban farm right along Chicago. And then Durso Park is here. and Seward Park is up there. And the reason we wanted to start here is because we heard in the previous community meetings the desire for more open space, and not just more open space, but more contiguous open space. And so in our plan, you'll see this embedded in a lot of the models in the back and a lot of the plans, is this connection that goes north from Durso Park, passed by the hand and connects into Seward Park. It also extends south from Durso to connect into the Jesse White Community Center. And so what this does is it connects both Durso and Seward Park and creates this interconnected network of open space that stretches all the way from Chicago, all the way up to Division Avenue. And we think that this is a really compelling idea, and we'd love to hear more about it, but we think this is really compelling. And it's accomplished through a few small moves, just these few sites here. You know, this kind of modest amount of land, and you can really leverage those existing assets of the Jesse White Community Center, Durso Park, and Seward Park. So we think there's a lot of potential here. So this is one portion of the open space network. And then as we move north, so we're switching around, we're now on the north side. So this is Park 598. This is Clybourne and Larrabee right here, right? So this is Stanton Fieldhouse and Stanton Park. So again, these are the existing conditions right now. And we think by using, again, a few modest moves, we can expand Stanton Park to the south, here right across Scott Street. And then through, again, a small connection here, we can connect into the rest of the open space network. So again, this is just some of the larger open space moves. Love to talk more about this with you at the tables. So again, I want to zoom back out and look at this framework again. So this is looking from the north. And what's unique here, what we've added to this diagram is not just what's existing, but also what's proposed in the neighborhood. So you can look at North Union here to the east of all these sites, and you can see Halstead Point just across the river to the west. So these are very large developments. And knowing this and knowing CHA and knowing the sensitivity and having all the conversations with you through past community meetings, we spent a lot of time trying to weave these developments into the community and manage the amount of housing, the amount of development we're calling for in these sites to be respectful of the surrounding communities. So again, happy to talk with you about how well we did and any further comments you might have. But I did want to create this kind of context, right? That it's not just these 40 acres, but it's an understanding of the larger neighborhood that we're trying to create here. So with that, I gotta switch to my cheat sheet here. So as we mentioned a couple times, a lot of this work is based on past community meetings and past conversations with you had with you. See a lot of familiar faces here, which is great. And we wanted to call out these direct responses that from what we've heard to what we've implemented in the plan. So on the left here, you can see what we've heard, and on the right, our response to it. So you can see we heard a lot about honoring Cabrini's past, and we've included things like memorial walks and a lot of space for community amenities and other things. So we heard the need for prioritizing giving people more choices for housing options, and we've included a lot of diversity in the housing types, building types throughout the site on a lot of the different sites. The mix of housing types, again, you'll see in the actual proposals, once we get there, that we have everything from townhomes to 6 flats to mid-rise buildings to much taller, denser developments. And so, again, we're very careful with where we put those and looking forward to having conversations about them. Next slide. Okay. Heard a lot about increasing street connectivity. You know, this is one of those neighborhoods where the streets in the urban framework were almost used to isolate this community. And so we spent a lot of time weaving this back together, weaving it back into the neighborhood. And so hopefully you see that in the proposals. Again, we talked about connecting and increasing open space. That's something we also spent a lot of time doing. And then preserving a section of the vacant row homes. This was a hot topic if you were at the last community meeting. And we again listened, took all the feedback, balanced it with all of the other competing needs, and we feel like we found an appropriate balance. And again, love to talk to you about it. So, and then the other hot topic from the last community meeting was preserving the urban farms. And so we've now kind of identified certain locations. Again, everything's preliminary, but we think that there's a lot of potential in the sites that we've proposed for relocating the urban farms. So, all right. So with that kind of overarching kind of introduction, we're now going to jump into individual sites or individual sections of the plan. And for that, I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Albert.
Thanks, Nick. Again, I'm Albert Whitfield with SEB, and I'm going to walk you all through the framework on the sites south of Division, starting with the row home site. So just to orient us again, Chicago Avenue is here on the left, and Oak Street runs across the image here on the right. This is Hudson Avenue here, and then all of this is the existing vacant row homes. These massings here are existing occupied row homes, with Durso Park again on the left and the Jesse White Center, and you're seeing a portion of what we propose to extend Seward Park here on the lower right. Sorry. So in terms of the roadway framework, we have proposed to realign Locust Street to run straight through the former vacant row home site. We are proposing a new street off on the left, which will help to service the developments along Chicago, both the existing one that's there, I think 808 Cleveland, and the building that we're proposing on the vacant site. We're proposing to connect Cleveland on the north end to Oak Street. As far as the expanded streets, we have Cambridge Avenue, which we have proposed to make a proper two-way thoroughfare with parking on either side, and a parkway on the east side. And we're also proposing to expand Chestnut from its existing conditions and expand Cleveland south of Chestnut to connect to that new street that we're proposing. In terms of the development on these sites, again, I was mentioning this taller building on Chicago Avenue here. So that new street is intended to service this and this building, the 808 Cleveland. And our goal, again, in trying to both leverage the sites for their development capacity, but respect some of the existing community and the neighborhood feel that a lot of people have cited as a good thing. And so we wanted to, particularly at this site, significantly taper the scale of development, going from the scale along Chicago, which is appropriate here, stepping down dramatically to this grouping of the row homes that we have proposed to preserve or renovate at this location. In all, this is roughly 1,000 new units of housing on just the row home site. These 4 blocks here, as well as a small grouping of units over here on the right. There's also some key opportunities for highlighting this building here, which was the former management office of the row home development. We believe that could potentially be associated with the memorial park that we have proposed, or the memorial walk, which could end up either in this open space or here along Hudson Avenue. And then there's this opportunity along Chicago. This is a very fitting location for new retail. So it's likely that that would be sited along the Chicago Avenue frontage. switching around now. We're looking east. So Chicago Avenue would be over there off the screen. Oak Street now is on the upper left. And downtown is that way off the screen. This is by the hand. And Durso Park here. The vacant row home development is here at the bottom of the screen. And we're looking at these grouping of sites here. So in terms of the roadway framework, we've proposed to both extend Walton and Sedgwick Street. This was formerly a super block, as you can see on the prior slide. And again, that like development framework serves to, in a way, create an isolated community. And so the first right step seemed to be to break these down into normal sized urban blocks. And so extending Sedgwick and extending Walton help accomplish that. We've also proposed some modifications to Oak Street, which is a very odd thoroughfare in this section of the Cabrini area. So in all, we're proposing roughly 700 new units on these sites. Again, those smaller broken down blocks provide for more manageable sized developments that can be broken up between a variety of developers. It did seem appropriate that this site would house at least one taller building, given its closer proximity to developments, Hudson, such as this one, and it's approaching downtown. But we did want to, again, kind of respect the existing, some of the existing residential developments like this one on Sedgwick. So we're, again, trying to taper the height down to respect some of the neighbors. We've also, again, proposed the green connection with the Jesse White Center being over here on the right, this being an expansion to Durso Park, which allows for the connection to the Jesse White Center, and then this greenway moves north up to Sedgwick Park, with this area being primarily the expansion of Seward Park. This lighter green area here would be the relocated Chicago Lights Urban Farm location. And along the lower portion of the image, you see again the grouping of vacant row homes that we proposed to renovate, and they face onto this new greenway, and we proposed a set of lower scale developments, townhouses, and walk-up apartments that front onto that new green space. All right, I'm going to hand the mic back to Nick, who's going to walk you through the northern sites.
Okay, so now we're going to go north of Division. So this road right here, this is Division. This is the existing target here, Skinner North, or Stanton Park. And we have this great big open site right there. And so again, this is one of those larger super block sites. And we're proposing to break that up with two new north-south streets. One being an extension of Crosby Street here. And then another one here that connects from Division to Scott Street. Scott's also a bit of an odd street, so we're proposing to expand that to be a full kind of thoroughfare. So 2 lanes either way, sidewalks, trees, et cetera, et cetera. Both to kind of create that neighborhood feeling, but also help accommodate traffic coming and going to Skinner North there. So, and once we do that, that allows us to bring in these proposed developments. So yeah, we're concentrating a lot of the development at the corner of Division and Halsted. It's a very busy intersection. That's where we feel like it can handle the most development, and then tapering down toward the target and also towards Skinner North here with some, these are townhomes that we're proposing to face Skinner North right there. So all in all, this is about 1,000 units. That's the advantage of these larger sites, is that it can handle a lot of development while still providing that little bit of green space that I mentioned, the expansion of Stanton Park here. So that's the Division sites. And now we can go to what we're calling the Larrabee sites. So this is Clybourne and Larrabee right here. So Larrabee, Clybourne, targets down here, Skinner North, and then Stanton Park is here. And so primarily, our sites are these sites here that go south along Clybourne and then curve down Larrabee. And then this site here, as well as this site here, which is along Division, in between Division and Scott Street. So that's what we're going to be looking at. The northwest corner. This one? Yeah, that is, good question. That is CHA. So that is a separate development that they're working on a solicitation for. And so we have more, we can talk about that. Yeah. So that one's in progress. That one's a little further along than we are right now. And that's why we're not talking about it right now. So, but again, plenty of members from CHA that are happy to have that discussion. So here, since these are a little bit smaller sites, there's not a whole lot of urban framework and streets that we're proposing here. We do think there's potential for evergreen to extend through. Right now, this is a bit of a weird condition that I'm sure everyone here is familiar with. We think that it should be expanded to be a proper street. There is some complication with Stanton Park and some existing access to the Stanton Park Fieldhouse. But we think that those are solvable and that this would be a great improvement for the neighborhood. So with that, this is the development we're calling for. This is a lot of mid-rise development along the busier streets of Clybourne and Larrabee. And then taller development to happen along Division. This is where we think that there's a lot of potential for, again, taller development. And then towards the north, this is where we begin to see some of those diverse building types that I mentioned earlier. We go from the taller development along Clybourne right here, and then taper it down to our 6 and 8 flat buildings as it connects into the existing townhomes along Larrabee and Mohawk. So we think that this is one of those moments where we do end up knitting quite nicely into the neighborhood. But again, happy to have that discussion in a moment. So we've gone all around all the different sites, and now we kind of step back and look at the full development framework, this time from the northeast. So you can see that taller development here along Chicago. We kind of taper down into the existing row homes that we're calling to preserve, and then those sites north of Division that I just walked through. So that's the plan. So, or at least that's what the draft plan, the draft framework that we're proposing. And so with that, I have like 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we can open it up for discussion. Can I get through the next 2 or 3 slides, and then we can talk? So what happens next? As we've been talking about, this is just part of the process. There's going to be more forthcoming. And so for the rest of tonight, we're going to be talking at the tables. We're happy to get into all the details, answer all your questions, go over everything, ask for feedback. And then after tonight, we'll incorporate everything that's happened today, or at least to the best we can remember and record. That's why the sticky notes are really, really important, because that gets memorialized in the plan. We scan everything. All the notes are kind of read and taken. So please put as many sticky notes as you want. We got tons of them, so use them all up. We're also going to post the demographic and market context analysis. In addition to this work that we're showing you today, we've been doing a lot of market research, a lot of financial feasibility for these, finding those resources that are needed to get these developments off the ground. So we're going to put all of that in our reports. We're going to marry that up with this development framework, or the next evolution of the development framework, and then put all of that into a final plan that will be posted to the website. So definitely check out the website. Okay, so we're hoping to get all of that finished up early next year. And then CHA will begin applying for zoning changes and doing a lot of the other kind of enabling things that have to happen for these developments to get off the ground. There's a lot of zoning changes and kind of work that has to be done so that they can happen. So CHA is going to be taking on a lot of that, doing that, so that a developer can come in and really get moving on these sites. And then lastly, always continued outreach. Again, please stay involved, look at the website, reach out to CHA. This is only the beginning of the process, and there are much more, many more steps to happen. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Marisa, who's going to tell you about the fun activities we have planned for you. And we will go from there, and then we can talk.
Thank you, Nick. I'm Marisa from All Together, and I'm just going to quickly talk through what we're going to do for over the next hour. You've heard a lot here, and so we wanted to spend the rest of the time hearing from you, getting your feedback on everything that's proposed, and to ask questions. We'll have staff at each of the tables that are on the back. Actually, we'll just go. Okay, so you'll see here that we have those development sites. They're organized by table. CB has done an amazing job of creating these models for you, so you can get a sense of scale of existing buildings and proposed development and new open space as well. And on each of these tables is an opportunity for you to provide feedback on areas like connectivity and open space and housing that's proposed, as well as the pros and cons of each. As Nick mentioned, we'll be memorializing all of this and considering that into the next draft of the plan. The Layer B sites will be at table 2, division sites at table 3, row homes at table 4, and Sedgwick sites at table 5. We also, right over here, will have some closeout tables. It's an opportunity to give us overarching feedback around connectivity and open space. And then overall, when you've been through everything, kind of your general sense of direction. Are you in agreement with the plan overall? Any remaining questions? And we'll have staff there to address this. To help incentivize you to get around to each of those tables, we have these fun little passports. If you have one, please raise your hand. Okay, awesome. If you do not, you can get one at the front, or Grace over there can give you one. And if you visit each of the tables and provide some input, you can give yourself a stamp, and then we're going to have a draw. We have 4 $25 Visa gift cards that will draw at the end of the event. So we hope you can stay, but if you cannot, you can put your phone number and we'll contact you. But I do want to say it's just only getting colder out there. And it's super cozy, and we've got hot cocoa in here, so please make yourself comfortable, and please make sure to visit all of the stations. We'll be here if you have any questions. We will also be kind of running a timer and just letting you know over the next hour, if you'd like to visit all of them, every 12 minutes, it's a recommended transfer time, but please feel free to take your time as you need at the stations you want to visit. All right, look forward to seeing you there.
Great. We'll see you at the tables.